So, you remember that recording we had for Mega Man 2?
Mm-hmm.
You had this awesome part where you talked about, you put your point very succinctly where you said Mega Man 2 introduced a sense of rhythm that, Mega Man 1 had introduced some more thoughtful shootery action, and Mega Man 2 introduced a sense of rhythm to that formula.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is, the recorder didn't pick up on it. So, I was hoping to get you to say it again.
Oh, man.
What stage best speaks to your opinion on Mega Man 2 then?
Woodman.
Really? How come?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard, but you can cut right through it if you have the proper metal blade. That's like the whole thing with Mega Man 2. Woodman. Wood shield. Or leaf shield.
See, you stole both my answers there. I was gonna say Woodman. First off, he does have the sense of rhythm you were talking about, because at the beginning of the stage you have a bunch of really easy, one or two bullet kills, and then in the middle you've got a string of really hardy wolf enemies that make you take careful stock of your platforming. And then you get more simple enemies, and then you get the final boss. And so there's a back and forth there between weak and strong enemies that creates a sense of rhythm.
It adds like a whole other kind of dynamic to the way that you have to play the game, and that's like one of the best things. That's one of those things that wasn't exactly nailed, especially at the time. Like Mega Man 2 was one of those games that kind of added to the different kinds of difficulties in one level of a game. That was later figured out in a much better way, but it was a long time until somebody actually figured out how to, and then every single studio ever did it.
You gotta start somewhere.
It was definitely the starting point, I guess, with Mega Man 2. I mean, that's
so even though Mega Man 2 had a sense of focus to it that wasn't found in Mega Man 1, it still found plenty of deviations to explore within that focus.
This game really had like that kind of enemy pattern and that type of blueprint that we see these days, where most games have like a certain AI pattern to every kind of enemy. This was like kind of that real introduction to how you could really tell, and like especially with the Robot Masters. I mean, the first one had it too, but the first one, as I said, it seems more like a prototype at this point in time. But enemy patterns, even in the Robot Masters, they all had a certain pattern that they would do this, and then they'd hop over here, and then they'd run to the other side again. It's just like, patterns.
In that sense, Woodman is also a good choice because it displays the sense of variety that Mega Man 2 has with its enemy AI. You have the bats, which are really straightforward, they just sort of go at you. You have the gorillas, which they sort of hop up from below. You have the roosters, I think they are, or ostriches. Sorry.
Yeah, ostriches.
That.
They're the same thing. Roosters and ostriches, they look a lot alike.
They don't totally take advantage of the platforming, but they do. They react to your position. They jump based on where you are. And even though they have totally independent senses of AI, they're all also really simplistic, and their gimmicks are immediately understandable.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, I think, the part of the identity of Mega Man 2.
In all fairness, I know we brought up Woodman a few times. I don't know how else to say this, but what the how do you just... They're robots, but he's wood? How does that work?
I think it's synthetic.
Would he really be a robot? I mean, wouldn't he just be an automaton?
I don't know. Do you think Wily has that would discriminate based on automaton
Yes.
status?
Yes.
No automatons in the Wily army?
I feel like he totally, yeah, that's everything was a robot. Dr. Light made robots, Wily stole them.
Didn't make any dumb automatons.
Exactly. Who the hell makes an automaton? What a dumb word, even.
Well, I'll give you that.
Yeah. It's obviously just not. It's not good. Woodman.
So when you try to think of a boss that speaks to Mega Man 2's identity, what would you say there?
As a joke, Woodman. Seriously, Metal Man.
Okay.
Because of his long flowing hair, his Axl Rose look, his
Axl Rose isn't until Mega Man X5.
Oh god, I forgot about that. I really forgot about that whole thing. And the good thing is, we're not covering the X series. At least I'm not covering the X series. I don't do Mega Man X. Ugh. But Metal Man, because everybody for some reason was weak to the Metal Blade.
Weapons are a different conversation.
It's a different conversation, but when it all comes down to it, in all technicality, he's the most important character in that whole game. Due to the fact that his blade can be used on anybody. He was such a powerful boss without actually meaning to be that powerful that his blade could take out any single robot master. Therefore, he was the definition of Mega Man 2 altogether.
It sounds like your point is that he stressed the need for getting down a solid robot master order because you kind of always needed the Metal Blade if you wanted to make any decent progress.
For the most part, I mean, every boss still had their certain things that they were weak to.
But Metal Blade is just usable everywhere.
Exactly. And I don't believe it if I remember properly, it didn't take that much energy to use, and you could always get that energy back pretty quick.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember how much you use per pellet, but I know you get a ton to throw.
Yeah. So, I mean, it was, I don't know, Metal Blade completely made Metal Man the most important robot in that game. And I feel like when I stop and I think about Mega Man 2, I think about Woodman for the idea of this idiotic character that had to be an automaton trying to pretend to be a robot, but he wasn't a real robot. He wasn't Pinocchio trying to be a real boy. He was just a stupid automaton. But in a serious way, though, Metal Man was definitely, like, when I think about Mega Man 2, he's like the real serious character that I think about.
Okay. Typically with Robot Masters, I think of Crash Man, because Mega Man 2 Robot Masters have this, some of them have a tendency to doing different things. For instance, hold on. Alright, I'm back.
Okay.
For instance, if I recall correctly, Heat Man will teleport only after you shoot him.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a few other Robot Masters that react to different things you do. And Crash Man, for his part, he will jump whenever you shoot, or I think even just whenever you press the B button. It's not necessarily tied to your shooting. And he also just sort of walks back and forth and throws bombs at you.
Yeah.
So his AI is kind of simple, like the ones in Mega Man 1, but his attack itself, where he jumps and throws a bomb at you, shows a little more tactical thinking than anything in Mega Man 1, where he's shooting down at you from above, and you have to be sure, like, you can't just avoid the bomb, you also have to avoid its blast radius, which is delayed. And so between those two things, he opens up some interesting strategies where you can sort of, sometimes you can sort of time it so you sit in the corner and wait for him to turn around before you launch an attack on him. And he also gets you thinking about, like, I wonder what weapon I can use against him. And
The answer
For the guy that jumps, it makes sense that you use the weapon that goes upward, the air shooter, I think it's called.
or the metal blade.
Well, yeah, just use the metal blade on
You can
anyone.
just use the metal blade. That's the answer.
So when it comes to Robot Masters, Crashman I think is the most emblematic one from Mega Man 2.
Yeah, I guess you could go with that. I guess if we want to look at emblematic characters, you could look at Heatman, because what is he?
He's a match, or not, friggin'
A lighter?
A lighter, thank you. Out of the weapons in Mega Man 2, what do you think speaks best to the overall landscape of Mega Man 2 weapons?
Do I really have to answer that one? Metal blade.
Well, see, that's why I said that was a different conversation.
Other than that, bubbles, a robot making bubbles is good.
See, Bubble,
I don't know.
the Bubble Lead, or Bubble Lead, Bubble Lead, I don't know.
Lead. It had to be lead.
I could go for because Mega Man 2 weapons really, I feel like they try to take advantage of platforming more so than other entries. And so Bubble Lead is the one that travels along the ground. And it's, it's subject to gravity. So I think that speaks a lot to what Mega Man 2 weapons are like.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. I mean, honestly, when it comes to Mega Man 2, that's one of the Mega Man games I haven't played in decades. I really don't remember much of Mega Man 2, so the only weapons that really stood out to me were the Metal Blade and the Leaf Shield. I mean, I guess the Leaf Shield's kind of an important thing because it led to other shields in the game. Or in the series, like Skullman had a skull shield thing.
Yeah, there's a shield in 4, 6, 7, and 9.
Exactly.
And 10.
And the shields always sucked.
Well,
I mean, I
the
think
1 and 9 is good.
maybe in Mega Man 4, I think that if you touched an enemy with it would hurt him. I don't know. I couldn't remember. Like, if you could move and have the shield on still, and I think you could run into him and hurt him with it, but I don't.
Yeah, that was an improvement.
Yeah.
In 2, when you move, you just throw the shield immediately.
Yeah, see, that's.
On the topic of Bubble Lead, it's also worth noting that, do you remember the second Wily boss? The one that comes out of the walls?
Yes.
That is killed in one, even on difficult mode, that dies in one hit to Bubble Lead. Or each part of that boss dies in one hit.
Yeah, you can take it out pretty quick with the Metal Blade also.
Well, honestly, replaying Mega Man 2, I tried never to use Metal Blade, just because it felt like cheating.
You disappoint me. You have to cheat in Mega Man. Like, I don't mean cheat by the password system, where it seems like the weirdest robotic game of bingo ever. I mean, you just have to cheat by using the Metal Blade. It's not cheating because they put it in there.
Yeah, but I mean, it cheapens the experience.
Why didn't they patch it? They could have patched it, right? Why didn't they patch it?
Put out Mega Man 2 Turbo.
Turbo Street Fighter Edition X DLC on the disc thing.
I guess if you want to say Mega Man 2 is one of those games that you can just sort of breeze through, certainly Metal Blade helps you do that.
Metal Blade is fun too. Like, it looks cool, and that's kind of the extra appeal to it that makes you want to play through it with the Metal Blade. It doesn't look stupid when you use it. It looks like I'm a badass robot assassin, and I'm using something that could really assassinate anything in my way.
I always thought Mega Man looked cool throwing it, how his hand would always arch downwards.
Yeah.
Arc downwards?
Same thing. Noah's Arch. Noah's. Yeah.
I try to experiment with them all, and they all have varying usability. Where, like, the quick boomerang is actually pretty useful because it goes really fast, and a lot of enemies are susceptible to it. Whereas the charging heat laser, or whatever it's called, is rarely, if ever, useful. I try it on everything I see, and it just never seems to work.
Yeah, the quick boomerang is kind of cool. I actually forgot about the quick boomerang for some reason. But yeah, that one actually looks really cool too. I don't know. There's certain things in the Mega Man games that look really cool, but the quick boomerang's really not that great of a weapon.
I like how fast it is. Like,
Oh, I love how fast it is.
yeah.
It's quick, and it's a boomerang. It's a quick boomerang.
I guess, yeah, the rolling cutter was also a boomerang, but its claim to fame was sitting on top of enemies and dealing successive damage. Whereas with quick boomerang, the deal is that you hit them with 3 boomerangs for every, 1 pellet shot you would have gotten on them. So they're
That's
both
true.
about doing heavy damage, but in different ways.
Yeah, I guess that's true. I mean, especially if you had a turbo controller. Well, that's not cheating.
Actually, I don't know, with Mega Man, maybe.
I was being sarcastic. That's cheating.
I don't know.
That's totally cheating.
Is it?
Yeah, that's cheating. Using a turbo controller on anything's cheating.
I guess. I think it's below the belt to require a person to mash a button really quickly, though. That just seems like
So don't mash it really quickly.
you lost the game because you can't tap the B button fast enough.
Mash it really slowly. I don't give a It's cheating if you have a controller.
Okay. No turbo control.
Is it cheating if you slip and your penis falls on somebody else? It's still cheating, kind of.
Alright, you've been watching some weird late night TV shows?
No. Maybe. Yeah.
So for that reason, I always think I think of Leaf Shield as the emblematic one from 2, the emblematic weapon from 2, because half the time it's useful. Like in Crashman stage, when you're climbing up those ladders, and you have the dumb birds that shoot mini birds at you. You can shoot the leaf shield upward and it just clears out swaths of them.
That's good.
So it's really cool to have a weapon that's perfect to use in that situation where enemies are right above you. And it's kind of useful for farming when you have respawning enemies. But its use is also limited because you can't walk around with it. It just shoots off whenever you want to move anywhere. So it's very situational. When it's useful, it's overpowered, and when it's not useful, there's no hope of using it whatsoever.
It's very true. That's kind of one of the fallbacks with certain weapons in the Mega Man series. I guess Leaf Shield is kind of that iconic weapon that has that problem. After that, every weapon always seemed to have some sort of use to it in all the Mega Man games. So. Yeah, Leaf Shield's kind of iconic also. Mega Man 2 is one of the most important games in the series because it makes you remember certain things that were like, oh, I could easily cheese the game with the Metal Blade, or I could take out a bunch of smaller, luckily sometimes smaller groups of enemies with the Leaf Shield. But it made everything change a little bit afterward because no longer did you have that one weapon that you could go through and completely kill the whole game with, and no longer did you have to worry about a shield that wasn't really a shield. It kind of set a precedent for future Mega Man games.
So I guess you could say half the fun of 2 is that you can crack it wide open with a weapon, and later Mega Man games, they might be better balanced, they might be better programmed, but, they'd lose some of their electric charm in that sense, because you can't f something over with a Metal Blade.
Exactly.
Out of the first 6 Mega Man games, you'll recall that we both ranked Mega Man 1 in dead last.
Mm-hmm.
Without spoiling any of your other placements, what place would you give Mega Man 2?
2.
Mega Man 2 in second place?
Yeah, but definitely. I would put it, when it comes to importance in the series, I would put it at 1. But in my personal list, it would be 2.
I have such a hard time with this. But, I think I'm gonna put it in 4th. It's I don't know, the Mega Man series is weird, where, aside from the first one, I went through a love affair with, I went through a love affair with 2, with 3, with 4, with 5, with 6, so there's unique things that I adore about all of them. I would say tied for first, but I can't, so I'm putting it in 4th place.
Wow. It's acceptable, somehow. It's acceptable.
Because it's a fucking great series.
It's a fucking great series! God, there's so many bleeps in this already.
Very mature, Eric. Very mature.
Maturity is my middle name.
Eric Maturity Lewis?
Yep.